Murder on the Main Line, Chapter 5, The Babies in Old Blockley. In the maternity ward at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, 10 to 15 babies came into this world each day. The first responders would fly in distressed mothers with helicopters, hurrying them into the tower under its blinking blue lights. The babies would come peeling out, all bloody and slimy, and get washed off and wrapped in soft blankets and presented to their cooing relatives. It was all a well-lit, bustling affair, happy and full of conversation. Nestled in the center of the most advanced medical hub in the United States, these babies were surrounded by billions in technology to keep them alive through every phase and calamity of their lives, from lullabies to lab tests to their last light. The scientific means put to the task were nothing short of miraculous. Robotic surgery platforms, artificial pancreas systems, smart ICU beds, high-fidelity simulation mannequins. The rate of change was ferocious, like a high-angle shot of a busy street corner with the film sped up. Down the street, at the Joseph W. Spellman Medical Examiner building, the rate of change was glacial. A windowless brick fortress, it looked like it spawned from an oil painting of the industrial age, ominous and enormous. They used to call it Old Blockley, and it was the result of an evolution that had crawled along since 1835, providing a service that we would always need. Things didn't change there at all. Time stood still. There was no happy conversation or bustling. This was the other portal, the one leaving this realm, the dead house. Autopsy suite. Dr. Nia Bramwell set to her work quietly, an oblique lighting scan of Josh's skin. She held a small flashlight with a powerful lens at an angle and got low, like she was aiming for a billiard shot, and scanned his epidermis with her sharp, brown eyes. A forensic pathologist from Bangalore, she wore blue-framed glasses, prim and proper. Her autopsy suite was incredibly white and clean. 10 gigantic fluorescent light panels spawned across the ceiling. The second primary color, stainless steel. The sinks, the patient tables, the scales, the refrigerators, the paneling behind the sinks. There was a large computer monitor on the wall, and the white floor pitched to a drain, stainless steel. She started at the fingertips and visually scanned his arm, pointing her light in a matrix of segments, gently turning his limb to get a better angle. Nothing out of the ordinary on his arm. A scar here and there, an abnormal mole, the unusual vaccination marks. When her scan traveled up his neck, she paused for a moment and locked onto it. There, behind the ear, just inside the hairline, a fresh injection site. Tricky, she said in a British accent. She thought about the precision of that location. No wonder they didn't find it. Somebody knew what they were doing. The injection, virtually invisible and in a highly vascular area. I am noting a fresh punctate lesion located posterior to the left ear, just inside the hairline, she said into an old microphone that dangled from the ceiling. It looked like something from the AM radio days, brown and Art Deco. The mark is circular, less than 2 millimeters in diameter, with no surrounding scarring. The location and appearance are consistent with a recent injection site. I am photographing the area now, with scale, followed by oblique light imaging to document any subtle surface disruption. She took a swab of the site for residue analysis. Then she excised a small section of skin around the puncture for toxicological comparison, putting the flesh in a clear plastic tube with a pair of tweezers. She ordered peripheral and central blood samples, vitreous fluid, and urine as standard for a full toxicology panel. She said, findings at this stage suggest the possibility of a peri-mortem administration of a substance, pending laboratory confirmation. After completing her autopsy and finding nothing else that would suggest murder, she called Sloan. Taylor, said Sloan. Found something in the Winslow case, said Nia. Sloan sat upright. She was in her cubicle, digging through Rachel's past. Injection site in the neck, just inside the hairline, said Nia. Interesting. Tox report? Not yet. Ordered. Okay. Any theories yet? Only that whoever did it likely knew what they were doing. Expert location and execution. So, someone in the medical field, perhaps, asked Sloan. Yes, I think so. Could be. Or an assassin. Sloan chuckled treacherously, her South Philadelphia heritage coming to the surface for a moment. Let's go with Occam's razor at this one. Would a nurse fit this category? Yes, if she were the right kind of nurse. What about a pathology nurse? Oh, yes, absolutely, said Nia. Thank you, said Sloan. Let me know when the toxicology report is ready. There's one more thing, said Nia. Okay, hit me. The angle of the injection suggests someone standing over him. Sloan grabbed her coat and told Mateo it's time to roll out. Why would a nurse need a needle exchange? Couldn't she just get them from work? Asked Mateo at the wheel. He was driving them down Aramingo Avenue into the Badlands of Kensington. She hasn't worked there in a long time, Holmes, said Sloan. Didn't you hear the landlord? She had to be getting her needles from somewhere after they let her go. Fair, said Mateo. The needle exchange was in the basement of a church that presided under the L train. The homeless and the addicted stumbled about there, a spectacle of drug zombies in the broad daylight. A man in a flannel shirt urinated on the wall of a convenience store with bars on its windows. An old woman fought with a troll of a man, a small man, over a shopping cart. She beat him with a filthy and bent aluminum cane. There was a pile of clothing near the dumpster. Sloan wasn't sure, but she thought there was a sleeping person in there. There was garbage and litter everywhere, and it smelled like cannabis and shit. Nearly every 20 minutes or so, the train would roar through the neighborhood, rattling all the windows and coffee cups. The church was a large brown building, and they took the back stairs into the basement, which was converted into the Prevention Point Needle Exchange. It was surprisingly bright, fluorescent humming. It smelled like perspiration. There was a flea market table with a coffee and water and snacks for the homeless and the hungry. The people filed in a line, shuffling down the steps and along the wall and up to a larger table at the head of the room. At one end of the table, they dropped off the used needles, preferably in the containers provided, but often in soda bottles or plastic baggies or just in their hands. At the other end of the table, they picked up their new kits, brown paper bags that had 10 fresh insulin syringes, tourniquets, sterile water, cookers, cottons, alcohol pads, vitamin C powder for Orsorbic, and an information brochure, all wrapped up like your mom's peanut butter and jelly. There were 2 older gentlemen there to help move the line along and act as greeters and to help if things got crazy. Mateo approached the closer one, a veteran in a green sweater who looked like he could take care. Hey, boss, said Mateo. He flashed his badge. Philadelphia Police. Got time to take a look at something? Police? Gosh. Yes, I guess so, said the man kindly. Have you seen this girl? Mateo held up his phone with a picture of Rachel on it. No, can't say I have. But this is my first day here. I'm just a volunteer. You'd have more luck with that gal over there. He pointed at the table at the head of the room. There was a woman at each end of it. The younger one with black hair was on one end, which appeared to be an intake for the used needles. She was wearing latex metal gloves and a long sweater that looked like she made it herself. She had the shit end of the stick, taking all those nasty needles. But she did so with a smile and with a tremendous grace, an angel on this earth, and they all knew it. At the other end of the table, the outtake, there was the other angel, an older woman with short cinnamon hair who everyone loved, Martha. She was the mother that none of them had. She treated them all with love and respect. Martha could walk through the meanest streets of North Philadelphia with no worry, because they'd all watch over her. They'd follow her and watch her path all the way to her door, not to threaten her, but to protect her. She had a kind smile and an infectious laugh. They loved her. She handed out their fresh kits, The paper bags crinkled in her wrinkled hands. "There you go, darling," she'd say. "Be careful now, okay?" Mateo nodded to Sloane, and she knew what he meant without a word. "You take this one." She approached the younger one. "Hello," said Sloane. She approached the woman. She showed her identification and quietly explained why they were there and showed the woman the picture of Rachel on her phone. "I'm sorry," said the younger woman with black hair. "No, I haven't seen her." Sloane could tell it was a lie. She could see it plain as day. The averted eyes, the guarded body language, the answers too short. But she also knew why. Women like her, who worked at those exchanges, they protected their people, and it would take more effort than it's worth to force her, especially not there in Kensington, no matter what time of day. If they were to mess with this woman, it would be a riot. She let it go. On their way out, a red-haired woman gestured for them to follow her. Mateo looked back with a raised eyebrow. He followed without a word, raising his guard. The woman led them into an alley, out of eyeshot of the zombies waiting to get into the needle exchange. The L train rolled by overhead, an impossible racket of singing steel and bending iron. "I know that girl," said the red-haired woman, Jane. She had freckles and high cheekbones. Pretty and haggard at the same time. She wore a dingy Nirvana t-shirt. "Okay," said Sloane. "How did you know her?" "Just a friend." "Just a friend?" "Yeah, we used to party a lot, but then she stopped coming around. Kind of ghosted me, you know?" "Is she okay? What's going on?" "We can't really say. It's an ongoing investigation," said Sloane. "You have not seen Rachel here in a while?" "No, not for a few months." "Think she was getting her kids elsewhere?" "No, I know she didn't." "How so?" asked Mateo. He kept scanning the alley in both directions. "She didn't trust the other places," said Jane. "I don't know. She said she'd only go here because it was the only place she trusted. I thought she was crazy." "I see," said Sloane. It was not what they wanted to hear. It didn't fit into their picture. And every once in a while, she'd show up with this guy. I didn't like him. That woke Sloane up. Third party. She went through her phone furiously and held up a picture of Josh. And he was alive. "Was it him?" "No," said Jane. "This guy was more clean-cut. Kind of like a cop, actually." "Could you give us a description?" "Not really, no. He never got out of his car." "What kind of car was it?" "It was a different car every time. I think they were rentals. One time it was a Lexus, another time it was an SUV. Then he had a BMW. Yeah, I think they were rentals. I didn't get a good look, but I saw his profile. He had a big head." "Well, that narrows it down to about half the cops in the city," said Mateo. "Still," said Sloane. She stopped herself and took a mental note to look into this in the future. She finished questioning the red-haired Jane and got a few more details, but nothing of substance, on where Rachel might have gotten her kits. Could it be that she was clean like she really said? Blood tests will tell. And who was their mysterious man that they would show up with her in different cars? They left with more questions than answers. Sloane got home late, around 1:30 in the morning. As usual, she crept into her own house like a fugitive, turning the keys and stepping into the living room as quietly as she could. There was that one floorboard that always creaked loudly when she stepped on it, wincing. He left her a note on the table. Dinner in the fridge, chicken. Her table setting, still laid out on the dining room table. Gilt in perfect order. Knife, fork, plate, glass, a napkin folded sideways. Alone in the kitchen, staring at her lonely table setting, she was past hunger. A drink was more in order. She grabbed a cold beer from the refrigerator, closing it softly, and led Cody out with her to the porch and sat in a rocking chair and let the dog settle. Looking over the banister of her porch, she could see the lights of the city against the dark backdrop of stars and night. The cars, a steady hum of city traffic as her wind chimes stirred. She remembered a time when Matt woke up when she got home, no matter what hour. He'd wake up all groggy in his robe and insist on rubbing her shoulders like she was some sort of prize fighter. He'd call her his night warrior and have a beer or two with her on the porch after her shift. They'd watch the traffic and the city lights across the river and talk about the existential so she could unwind. Funny how things changed. Now he had to wake up too early for that. She thought about how things changed between Rachel and Josh, too. Almost 2 years in college. They must have been really in love. She looked at the millions of people zipping around beyond her porch banister, their lives changing in small increments each day until one day they don't want to be with their partners anymore. The text on Josh's phone flashed across her mind. You should have answered.